Thank goodness she was already living with the family. Occasionally, life has a way of throwing curveballs and reminding you how precious built-in support can be. There is nothing like an unexpected heartbreak to bring home the comfort of having your loved ones nearby. And okay, is it only me, or does baby Joey resemble a mini giant Garrison? I mean, the similarity is freaky, but no matter that little enigma, watching Janelle surrounded by her grandkids really warms the heart. These family moments are everything. Honestly, her decision to relocate to North Carolina with her daughter might have been the best move she's made in a long time. It's like she's finally found a place where she can heal and thrive. And speaking of new beginnings, has anyone else been curious about this farm everyone keeps buzzing about? Let's get real here. I'm hoping it's all warm and fuzzy countryside charm, not this rundown disaster. Fingers crossed, it's not another fixer-upper from hell. But first, before we get too far into all that, side note here, I gotta say it, Caleb totally gives me the ick. I don't know what it is, but something just doesn't quite feel right. But alright, on to what actually counts. We've got a lot to get through today, and believe me, you won't want to miss any of it. So let's dive in. Hi everyone. Welcome back to the channel. It's Elena here, and this is Reality Nexus X, where we strip away the layers on all things reality TV and share the heart behind the headlines. Now, let's discuss David. He totally aced it in one of the most sensitive situations possible. Talking to someone who's in a state of bereavement. The manner in which he approached Christine was a lesson in empathy. His words? I didn't know him much. Tell me a little bit of stories about him. That right there is what you should do when someone's grieving. So many people think that avoiding the topic will spare someone pain. But here's the truth. They haven't forgotten their loss. You're not reminding them of something they don't live with every day. Especially when a parent loses a child, they often want to talk about it. It's not about reopening wounds. It's about honoring memories. And when you ask a bereaved parent to tell a story and then actually listen, you're offering them an unusual and precious gift. So if you ever find yourself at a loss for words in a moment like that, that's your golden script. David really gained my respect at that moment. Seeing him reassure Christine as she struggled not to cry, he did not avert his gaze. He did not attempt to fix her. Rather, he let her have space to feel. He reassured her that it was okay to cry, okay to break down, and let's discuss that piece of advice of his. Sometimes you have to smile and laugh. Other times you have to scream. Uncomplicated, genuine, honest. Emotions refuse to fit into tidy little compartments, and David knew that. You can't contain sorrow. It'll escape somehow. Although David has not lost a child, he is familiar with the loss of someone he loved intensely. That mutual pain created in him a special sense of compassion. His empathy was raw, genuine, and really inspiring. David continues to show he's a stable, grounded man who prioritizes others over himself. Literally the complete opposite of Kody. This one moment totally shifted how I view him. He wasn't just supportive, he was present, thoughtful, and intensely attuned to Christine's pain. You could tell he's lived through something similar. David has obviously brought his own heartache, and in doing so, he's discovered a great truth. Sadness doesn't go away. It just becomes part of your narrative. You keep it with you, always. And rather than attempting to erase the ache, he assisted Christine in remembering the laughter, the love, and the better time she spent with Garrison. That sort of support is unusual. You know what's unusual? A man who knows when to listen rather than trying to solve everything. David's capacity for being emotionally available and supportive is something that Kody never learned. But talking about Kody, discussing this strange move to Kody, Wyoming. Yes, Kody relocated to Kody. If that doesn't cry ego, I don't know what does. Robyn attempted to brush it off with a nonchalance, like it was just a quaint little jaunt, a measly 20 minutes away. But Kody himself set her straight. It's a full hour drive. And let's be honest, he didn't do it for the view. Here's the catch. Kody can no longer show his face in his real hometown. Why is that? Because the same LDS community that used to applaud his way of life has turned their backs on him. This is the same individual who used to rationalize everything he did based on his faith, until that faith no longer fit his own choices. And when things did get ugly, rather than manning up and taking responsibility for his actions, he packed up and left. He abandoned the women who constructed his world alongside him, and the kids who once called him dad. He sacrificed loyalty, love, and legacy to the bus, all for Robyn. And what do people think nowadays? Well, while Kody is laying low in a town bearing his name, his own relatives are attending Christine's wedding in full support. That says it all. Let that sink in. His kids and ex-wives are celebrating together, forging a new chapter without him. Meanwhile, Kody is too ashamed or too proud to show his face where it really matters. The truth? He can't deal with the fallout. He sacrificed his family, abandoned his faith, and now is attempting to revise the history. But not everyone is buying it. And that family vacation spin? Yeah. Not exactly the warm reunion they'd have you think. They attempted to spin it as a nod to the good old days. But audiences can tell. This wasn't a quick escape. It was a meticulously planned escape from responsibility. There are fans out there who feel the entire journey was a setup. Personally, I don't think it was scripted, but it was certainly staged. While the core family was likely to remain at the ranch, Kody, Robyn, and the production crew were most likely off on their own little retreat, an hour away, role-playing. It's the oldest trick in the reality TV manual. Show something, conceal something. Let's get real here. Kody should have cut to the chase. He should have stood up in spirit with Garrison, stood up for his family, and returned to the ranch. Even for a day. Spend time with the individuals who needed him. Then, if he wanted to visit Robyn's side of the family, okay, make the drive out to Kody, Wyoming for a few hours. But instead, he remained secretive, alone, with Robyn. And here's the kicker. Robyn made sure Garrison's time was spent with her, not the rest of the family. I'm not saying Robyn and her kids shouldn't have been there. Garrison loved them, and that love was real. But the way it all played out, it just feels wrong. Office disconnected from what this moment should have been. Nobody is disputing that Kody's pain is genuine. Naturally, it is. Grief, though, does not exempt you from showing up. It does not mean you can act like life is normal again. Honestly, if Kody had wanted to return to the ranch, I think he would have been able to do so. But come on, Robyn wasn't about to let that happen. She probably guilt-tripped him into staying far away from them, and in doing so, she isolated her children from any decent interaction with the rest of their family. That kind of isolation? That's not solely on Kody anymore, that's on Robyn as well. Now, others may say that I'm too critical of Robyn. But let's examine the facts. She's misrepresented the whole trip. As the family mourned, she was doing appearances, spin-doctoring the story her way. And where's her sympathy? Where's her compassion for Janelle or the other original wives? We haven't seen it, not once. If it were me, I'd have traveled to Wyoming with Garrison's remains. I'd have stood there, awed by the moment, telling him all of the things I wanted to say when he was alive. I'd have wept, listened to his favorite songs, and commemorated him, not me. But instead, what did Kody do? He made the memory of Garrison into a setting for his own story. A family vacation without the family. And unfortunately, that says it all about where his priorities are. In reality, Kody and Janelle ought to have traveled together. Just the two of them. Parents mourning their son. And then, after the dust had settled, a memorial for the rest of the family. But no, because it is always about Kody, and by default, about Robyn. They're not wrong when they complain that Kody put Garrison's death into the spotlight and made it all about himself. He's let Robyn control what's happened, and now, he's not only a victim, he's a participant. He's not made any attempt to console his other kids, or his ex-wives, not even a public statement of unity. And consider that. If your child had died, wouldn't you want to turn to the mother of your child? Wouldn't you have to mourn together? But not Kody. He's too caught up in the acting. too concerned with being consoled by Robyn to even notice who he's abandoned. And Robyn, her conduct after Garrison's passing is simply deplorable. The crocodile tears, the nonstop focus on Kody's feelings, and that one utterance that this wasn't about her, followed instantly by making it all about her. That says it all. And let's not omit how she's behaved towards Janelle, as if she barely even notices her grief, doesn't recognize her loss. And that level of callousness, that's not just disappointing, it's revolting. It's like Janelle doesn't exist in Robyn's universe. And truthfully, that's not merely cold. That's more than disrespectful. We can't forget Robyn's teeny stunt, keeping her kids away from their siblings and dramatizing a simple children's Christmas conversation into full-blown drama. One little incident led to a huge divide between Kody and his children, particularly Garrison and Gabriel. And why? Ego? Control? Flash forward to the pandemic. Robyn's household had these strict safety parameters, such as a military-style lockdown. But guess who got COVID? Their nanny. That is correct. Meanwhile, Kody was shaming his children for being unsafe. Robyn had someone entering and exiting her house. Someone who, apparently, wasn't even washing their hands. You cannot make this up. That is classic Robyn. Rules for all, but not for her inner social circle. And then there's the icing on the cake. Robyn out shopping, running errands, getting pulled over for speeding, none of them wearing masks. Barry's getting in the cop's face, and Robyn doesn't even tell her daughter to back off. What a role model, huh? Let's be honest, all those regulations, they were never about safety. They were about control, about keeping Kody tied to her family. In the meantime, Brianna's going to school in person, and Robyn's living her best free life. And you know why? Because at least the other wives, Christine, Meri, had the integrity to say something about Janelle, to ask how she's doing. But Robyn? She's too caught up playing queen of passive-aggressive drama. She can't muster one kind word. It's time for her to grow up. A public condolence to Janelle? At least. But we all know that's not on the agenda. And then, the memorial room. Whoa. I didn't anticipate crying this episode, but the moment they showed the plaque on the Humane Society in honor of Garrison, it just washed over me like a wave. I thought, maybe they'll stage a tribute sometime. And then, bam, it's already up. The room, the plaque, finished. That's when I lost it. Enormous shout out to the fantastic folks at the Humane Society. And those fur babies Garrison adored so dearly. You could sense the love in that room. And then, that lady who soothed Janelle, she said all the right words. The kind of compassion Robyn couldn't muster on her very best day. But when Janelle couldn't complete her sentence, and Savannah came in for her, that shattered me. And that picture of Garrison, him smiling with his cat, with so much joy, gone too soon, but never forgotten. And then there's Robyn again. God, I have never wanted to throw my screen so badly. She is the true emotional black hole of the show. Not even Kody reaches her level of hollow-hearted manipulation. A death changes you, she says. Oh, really, Robyn? A death? Not the death of a child? Not Kody's son? To her, Garrison was not family. He was a roadblock. Someone who would actually bring Kody back towards his other children. Towards the rest of his family. God forbid. Good grief. Now, and to put the icing on the cake, Robyn has to say, I feel like the graveside service will be very sad. Gee, you think? What great insight. Bravo, Sherlock. Who says that? A graveside isn't really a location for rainbows and sunshine, particularly not following a new death. And not any death, your husband's son. So yeah, Robyn, it's going to be sad. What is this kind of distant, tone-deaf reaction? The phony tears, the manufactured quiver in her voice, it's not sorrow, it's acting. And quite frankly, I don't even care to continue watching the show anymore as long as she's on it. I completely understand why Mykelti cut ties after funeral drama. Who wouldn't? It's disgusting. And Robyn's profound analysis? Like, and stuff? Wow. Enthralling. So profound. She really does bring so much to the discussion, huh? She never should have been near Garrison's business family. That was for his people, not someone who treated him like a stranger in his own family. And Janelle, bless her, but she's too sweet. And in this case, that's not strength. Most women would have given Robyn a tongue lashing a long time ago. And Kody? Oh, he'd be shelling out child support and scrambling to rebuild his life. There's been too much getting away with for too long, and it's frustrating beyond words. I really feel for Solomon. I've watched the Garrison tributes several more times than I can openly acknowledge. And each time, it's harder. Because underneath all the drama, there's this lingering truth. Garrison never got the level of love and respect he deserved. Not from Kody, and definitely not from Robyn. Only the OG moms and siblings showed him that kind of unconditional love. But last night's episode? That one really hit me. Poor Solomon, he's just a quiet, sweet kid. And from what we're seeing, it's like he's being paraded around when it's convenient. Like a token in Robyn and Kody's well-staged persona. Just enough to remind us that they're involved, but not enough to really tell us how he's doing. And I know, there are plenty of comments online speculating about Solomon's situation, and we do have to be careful with that. Because let's be real, we don't actually know what's happening behind closed doors. Back in the pre-Flagstaff days, the kids were everywhere. Each episode featured them center stage. Multiple storylines, real moments, real development. Now, we're lucky to catch Solomon in a 5-second clip with no depth. We see a glimpse of his life, then it's dragged out over an episode like it counts. But it doesn't. It's editing. It's scraps. He's a preteen boy, and he's not going to be as comfortable with cameras as the older kids were. And the difference is, the other kids grew up with the crew. They had relationships, trust. Solomon? He's being shielded or sidelined. Maybe both. So yeah, it's easy to make assumptions, but we're only seeing a few curated hours every few months. That's not nearly the whole story. And Robyn and Kody? Oh, they're awful. But even with that, we have to give them credit. We can't ever really know what Solomon's world is like. We only see what they choose to show us. And the drama just keeps going, right? So Meri contacted Janelle. Surprise, surprise. She came forward, was decent enough. But Robyn? Radio silent still. Does she reach out? Does she send condolences? Send a message? Demonstrate any sort of basic human empathy? That's still a question. But seriously, given her history, I'm not counting on it. The one thing we do know for certain? Meri's initial reaction was to provide food and comfort to Janelle. That's what genuine connection is. Whatever I have to say about Meri, she got the sister-wife relationship and actually did show up when it counted. Christine was apparently in touch with Janelle as well. She's been showing up too. There's a steely strength there, a feeling of showing up for your people, even if things in the relationships have evolved. But Robyn? Crickets. Throughout the series, we haven't yet had her say Janelle's name in any substantial capacity on the show. And that's revealing. She allegedly wanted to keep Janelle as a sister wife. But when, precisely? Because I certainly don't recall either of them mentioning it on camera. Not even as a passing remark. Maybe Robyn is aware enough to know that her being there at a moment like this would be a distraction, not a source of comfort. At least, not to anyone other than Kody. And let's be honest, that's probably the only person she cares about comforting. Meri and Janelle, though? They've had their ups and downs, but there's real history there. Real life. Real shared pain. And yeah, they probably love each other in their own complicated way. Enough to show up when it counts. Robyn? I'm not sure anyone besides Kody even sees her as real family. And let's be real, even if she had attended, would it have been the best thing to do? I think we all know the answer. Truthfully, I'm happy she didn't just barge herself into the equation. She most likely knew that she wasn't welcome there. And sometimes avoiding is the most respectful thing you can do. Let's not forget, Meri and Janelle have history that dates back far before Kody. We're talking pre-Kody times. Janelle might have even known Meri's family before Kody was ever in the picture. Their connection has survived decades of drama and dysfunction, and it's still standing. Now let's talk about Kody. Because eventually, resentment is going to set in. Right now, he treats Robyn like she's his soulmate, his ride or die, the queen of his universe. But I just can't help feeling he's going to resent her, even if he won't articulate it. He is. Why? Because the loss of a child doesn't result in mere grieving. It produces reflection, blame, guilt, and as for Kody, he's already indicated glimmers of that reflection. That he has seen the whole COVID debacle as something of a mistake, something worth not what damage it resulted in. He's beginning to realize how much he lost. And here's the thing. Robyn was the person he stood up for at all costs during those years. Even when the kids were clamoring for attention, he pushed them aside in favor of keeping her safe. And on the inside, he knows that. He knows that if he hadn't painted that line in the sand, if he hadn't decided on Robyn over his sons, maybe things would have been different with Garrison. He's not too proud to admit it now, but that guilt is going to gnaw at him someday. Because no matter how hard he clung to Robyn as a safety net, she didn't save him. She was the wedge. She was the cause of those last years with his kids being full of distance and silence. And when he finally allows that reality to take hold, that's when the cracks will begin to appear. He'll understand that it could not be so bad if he loses Robyn. Losing Garrison was, so I think I'm always having my posts deleted for being too brutal. But hey, I didn't nickname him the a-hole this time either, so maybe this one will hold. Let's discuss Robyn. Seriously? I wouldn't be shocked if she winds up leaving him later on. In the latest episode, she stated something to the effect of, "People change with grief." And to be honest, I didn't get it the first time. But when I heard it the second time, epiphany moment. She's setting him up to leave him. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but that moment really stood out to me. If she stops distracting him with all her usual chaos, Kody might actually have to face some self-reflection. And let's face it, that's a dangerous game for him. Self-awareness isn't exactly his strong suit. He'll probably never admit that it was his fault for the COVID situation or pushing Garrison away. But come on, narcissists are masters at deflecting blame. Maybe he will blame Janelle instead. Wouldn't be the first time. But hey, let's discuss that vacation Kody and Robyn took. Lucky for them, I'm up to season 9, so I actually had to watch the episode myself. And let me tell you, as soon as Robyn shows up on screen, it's like the atmosphere becomes a masterclass in entitlement and evil. I mean, for real? Why are you vacationing with your new family when you're meant to be burying your son's ashes at his grave? I couldn't be the only one who thinks that a little weird, right? But hey, Christine christening the tree Chess's kiss? Now, that was everything. It was a good tribute, and honestly, it held so much more emotional significance than the whole trip put together. But seriously, let's discuss their entire rationale for remaining in Kody's hometown rather than level Y. Evidently, the accommodations there simply weren't up to par, and there is nothing to do. Okay, sure. Guess we couldn't make it happen in a location that is actually significant. So let's make it a vacation resort instead. And are we actually referencing Kody's heyday in his signing career? Seriously? Because nothing is more family moment than a trip down memory lane to Kody's worst career moments. It was so bad. Seriously, you can't even fault the producers on this one. This wasn't about content. They had enough content in the emotional heft of the trip itself. But no, Kody and Robyn were forced to make it all about their pioneer family fun. Adding in some, I remember when I almost sold a sign, nostalgia, undefined, and Christine's ode to Garrison, naming the tree after him, undefined. That was what counted. Defined property, it's ingrained in my memory, forever standard user defaults, that tree is the ultimate reflection of Garrison's legacy. And truthfully, undefined. I'm relieved for the rest of the family, excluding Robyn and Kody. They get to progress in their mourning without those two dominating the whole thing. David was so right when he said that grief isn't crying. It's laughing, remembering, getting angry, and feeling it all. It's messy, it sucks, but it's real. And if you attempt to bottle it up, it will blow eventually. What are your thoughts? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like that like button, subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, and lots of love to you all.